goes a saying that too much power can drive a person mad, and although mad might be an exaggeration, there is some truth to the statement. In the short stories, The Elephant Vanishes and The Second Bakery Attack, Haruki Murakami uses elements of magical realism as symbolism to explore the consequences of meaninglessly chasing greater power. With The Elephant Vanishes, a small town becomes troubled by the sudden disappearance of a zoo's elephant. In The Second Bakery Attack, a man seeks to rob a McDonald's in an effort to rid himself of a curse. Despite the stark differences in the premises between these two stories, they both utilize symbolism through magical elements to investigate the outcomes of pointlessly pursuing power. Beginning with The Elephant Vanishes, we see Murakami use the miraculous disappearance of an elephant as a symbol of humanity's misguided attempts at obtaining power greater than that of nature's. While officials scramble for leads as to where the elephant may be, the narrator decides to take a stroll past the vacant elephant home. Quote, peering inside, he could see that the elephant house door had also been chained and locked, as though the police were trying to make up for having failed to find the elephant by multiplying the layers of security on the now empty elephant house. End quote. In this quote, Murakami employs a simile to compare the chains unlocked on the cage to the policemen's insecurities as a result of their failures. Through this comparison, it is implied that this act of doubling down on security is essentially an effort to reestablish some semblance of power and control over the situation, specifically the elephant. Having an elephant out of all animals disappear is important as well, for it deepens the commentary on the human-nature power dynamic. Elephants evoke connotations of the raw power and might of nature. By extension, the elephant's disappearance can be seen as nature's powers outwitting humans. But humanity is unable to accept this fact, insisting that they still have the upper hand. Through these stubborn attempts at assuming greater power, humans have led themselves to perpetuate unnecessary cycles of distress and confusion. Though the townsfolk aren't the only ones flustered and afraid, in The Second Bakery Attack, Murakami utilizes the narrator's curse as a symbol of his detrimental desire to obtain greater power through the unneeded bolstering of masculinity. Equipped with knives and a bag, the narrator entered a bakery prepared to fight for some food, but to his surprise, the baker was willing to give away bread at no cost, so long as he would listen to Wagner. The deal is accepted, but not without skepticism. When reflecting on this decision, the narrator states, quote, nobody could have anticipated that. I mean, Wagner? It was like the baker put a curse on us. Now that I think of it, we should have refused. We should have threatened him with our knives and taken the damn bread. End quote. Here, Murakami conveys the narrator's thoughts and emotions by utilizing an internal monologue. Through this inner exchange, the audience can obtain a deeper sense of his anger and regret. These emotions may seem counterintuitive at first. After all, the transaction seems like a win-win for both parties. But upon further consideration, we see that the narrator did in fact lose something, his masculinity. Instead of exerting force and power to push the baker into giving the bread, he instead passively follows the baker's request. So the curse he describes in the quote must be a metaphor for the burden of compensating for this perceived loss in power. As the story progresses, this weight drives him to lose a couple of screws and commit crimes in the hopes of reestablishing his power and masculinity. If only he had ceased this irrational quest for more power, it would have saved him quite some trouble. From curses to disappearances, these elements of magical realism in Haruki Murakami's short stories become symbols through which the consequences of mindlessly working towards power can be explored. In The Elephant Vanishes, the vanishing elephant is a symbol of humanity's false notions that they are more powerful than nature. Attempts at pursuing this ideal causes needless suffering for the townspeople and humans in general. With The Second Bakery Attack, the baker's curse is symbolic of the narrator's irrational desire for power through reinforcing his masculinity. In the end, it costs him his sanity. Both short stories reveal that in reaching for power when there is no need, the outcomes will be that of misery and madness. So, while it may be fun to amass all the power in the world, sometimes less is more.